Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Greg Albright, head of marketing analytics and insights here at 3 Ventures. And joining me today is Alka Voss, our director of analytics and the blog author for our server-side tracking blog. Alka, thanks for joining me.
Happy to be here. Thanks.
So today, Alka, we're going to talk about server-side. And a lot of what we talk about in there is around how this is able to help our clients improve their tracking, boost their website performance, but also be able to provide a little bit more layer of privacy and security. And all of those are important benefits. Let's start with the tracking one. How does Tag Manager server-side help with tracking?
Yeah, it actually helps you in three ways. The first is your regular website tracking, where maybe with the regular Google Analytics tracking, that's being tracked by like a little snippet of JavaScript on your website. This JavaScript might be blocked or not loading for some reason. There might be some errors on your website that might prevent this from loading. Server-side tracking makes sure that in 99.9% of the cases, your website visitor and their behavior will be tracked. In addition to that, we're seeing a lot of new browsers like Safari, Firefox, and also soon Chrome browser are blocking regular trackers. So they are really actively looking for, okay, is this website trying to track my user behavior? And then users often have the option to turn it on and off. With some browsers, it's already turned on by default. So often website trackers are being blocked by default. And by doing this on the server side instead of with a JavaScript snippets, this is being avoided. So you can still track those users. Also, in many cases, cookies are being blocked. So, for example, if you visit a website, Google Analytics sets a cookie on your website. Normally, this cookie lasts a month, couple of months. And then when the visitor comes back a couple of months later, you can still recognize this visitor because that cookie still exists on the desktop, and you can, okay, this was the same visitor that came from Facebook all those months ago, and now he or she makes a purchase. Great. What modern browsers do is they say, okay, this cookie is being set by Google Analytics, for example, or by Facebook. We're not going to give it 3 months time. We're only going to let it be there for a day, and then we're going to remove it automatically. That's a big problem, of course, for your marketing attribution and for your analysis in general. Server-side tracking gives you a lot more control over how long this cookie lasts. So those three things really determine how your regular website tracking is being improved by GTM Server. In addition to this, conversion tracking for example, Facebook or Google Ads can also be highly improved by using GTM Server. As I mentioned, a lot of trackers are being blocked. Also, your Facebook pixel and the Facebook pixel that sends conversion information to Facebook or to Instagram or wherever, right? This is often being blocked by the browser nowadays. That means that maybe instead of seeing 100% of your conversion in Facebook, you're only seeing 70%. GTM Server solves this by first sending the data to your own server. So you're saying, okay, this visitor converted, sending it to the server, and then from the server we're sending it directly to Facebook with the conversion API. So no data is lost, less chance of errors, etc. So that's a big benefit for marketing teams. And the last one that determines how accurate your tracking is bot traffic. This one is a bit less important than the other two, but it still there's some effect there because you have more control over which data you collect, and also you don't have a clear tracking ID on your website. Like in the Google Analytics snippets, there's often this little ID. Bots and spam servers can use that ID to send data to your Google Analytics account and just pollute your data. With GTM Server, you have more control over what data you collect and what data you send to Google Analytics. So you have less bot traffic.
That's very helpful. Thanks for that, Alka. The other thing I wanted to ask about is privacy and security. And there's a couple of places where server side can help with that. Can you talk about those? why they're important to our clients and how server side is able to help?
Yes, of course. So those really tie back into that you have more control over what data is being collected and sent where. So what's especially very important with GDPR or CCPA, all those privacy regulations in different locations and countries, is that it's important that you have great control over which data you collect and which data you send where. For example, the Facebook pixel is a good example. When you have the Facebook pixel on your website, it basically collects everything about that user, about the browser, about their PC, about their behavior, and sends all that data to Facebook. This means there's a lot of privacy-sensitive data being sent to Facebook without you as a website owner being able to do anything about it. With GTM Server, that doesn't happen. What happens is somebody visits your website, you collect the data that you want to collect, you send it to your own server, cloud server, and from there you can exactly determine, okay, I'm going to send these bits of data to Facebook and nothing more. So that protects the data that you're collecting, makes you less liable, and in general gives you more control over your user data. It makes it easier also to comply to all those different privacy regulations.
It's a big benefit. It's a big benefit. And I know privacy and security is becoming a lot more important. And so being able to have more exactitude with what you send where is going to be more important. And I feel like server side is really the tool to be able to help you do that. And then let's talk about website performance, because especially with SEO being still so important for people and the Google search rankings being still very heavily dependent on how well your website is performing, especially with page load speeds. Can you talk more about how server side helps improve your website performance from a page load speed perspective?
Yes, absolutely. So when you would look at your own website or your own Google Tag Manager account, you will see that there are maybe 10, 20, some cases, hundreds of different tags being loaded on your website that send data to, Facebook, LinkedIn, different Marketo, different marketing platforms, whatsoever. Every service you use wants their snippets on your website. That means that your page load is affected. All the snippets have to be loaded. It affects the time that it affects the time that it takes for the page to load, but it also affects the data that might be collected. Right? If you have 100 of those snippets, not all of them might send data correctly if it takes too long. So all of this affects heavily the user experience and because of that also your results in the search engine and then just your general page load. So as I explained how GTM Server works, is really you only collect this data once. So you set up what you want to collect, and in the server you say, okay, after the page has been visited, you set up, okay, we're going to send this data to LinkedIn, to Facebook, to wherever, and this all happens on your server, so the user doesn't notice that. It happens very fast because the server has generally more capacity than the browser of the user. So it's a win-win. The site loads quick because only a little bit of data is loaded, and the data is being sent quickly and efficiently to your third-party tools.
So one of the things that always comes up that we get asked around is, are cookies still going to be needed, both now and kind of in the future? Where do you see that going with GTM Server, and whether cookies are still going to be needed?
Yeah, absolutely. Cookies are still going to be needed for now, although browsers, and especially Safari, are trying to limit the use of that. But still, cookies will be needed, or cookies, or maybe some other way of saving some data in the browser will be important just to recognize returning visitors. And it's generally used for when somebody logs in, for example. You want to maybe set a cookie that makes it so that they don't have to log in. It works the same for for analytics or tracking, you want to set that cookie so that you know, okay, this user has been on the site before. The limitations of the limitation of those cookies are increasing, so they last less long because of all those browser, all the protections that browsers put on that. But this only makes it more important to identify users by making them log in, for example. But yeah, users cookies are still an important factor, but they will be declining.
And then naturally, the question that comes up next is costs. They want to know, what are the costs involved? How can I calculate these types of things? What are the ways that we talk about how to start anticipating what the costs might be for something like this?
Yeah, in most cases, our response is the costs are really not worth having a meeting over. They generally vary from $40 per month for most customers, with some exceptions that go up to $500 per month, where you're talking about millions and millions of visitors per day. But if you would look at the benefits that GTM Server has versus the costs, it's really it's a no-brainer, and generally not something that our clients worry about.
And then we also get this question asked a lot: can it run on other platforms, other cloud platforms other than Google?
Yes, absolutely. Generally, we recommend that you run it on Google Cloud Platform if there's no preference from the client. This is just because they're both Google tools. They work well together. Google Cloud Platform is well optimized to run GTM Server, so generally it's a bit cheaper, a bit more reliable. But definitely, if there's a need to run GTM Server on Amazon or Azure, that's no problem at all. That can be done.
Great. This has been very helpful, Alka. Thanks for all the diving deep into all those things. And if you all are still watching, we'd love to have a conversation with you about how we can implement this with you on your side. Feel free to reach out, and Alka and I would be happy to set up a call and talk more. Thank you for your time.